Well, Matt, let's just start off with a bit of housekeeping and bodies. Injury-wise, anything picked up from Tuesday that's going to cause problems for the weekend?
No, a bit of fatigue, but nothing of real note, which I think rules anyone out going towards the weekend. Pleasing aspect of the first couple of games really is we've come through hopefully unscathed. Like I say, a few tired bodies. It was the first 90 for some of the players on that pitch, but they seemed in an okay place today. We might find out more tomorrow, but as we're speaking here on Thursday afternoon, we seem okay.
And in terms of trying to get minutes into legs, and you've been managing certain sort of people's workloads, are some of those getting closer towards where you can think about starting them in terms of like a Connor Taylor being obvious?
Yeah, Connor's a prime example of it really. He's a little bit different because of his injury at the back end of last season and subsequent operations. So he's had a good bit of game time now. Probably to be said to be in contention to start. Like I say, he's quite stiff today, but that's understandable. But I think he's ready to go into a game, and whenever you're a manager picking a team, you look at players who can go into a game and last the duration of that game, and I think he's probably ticked that box.
I would imagine Chris Martin probably not, but nice to be able to have him available at least.
Yes, yeah. Unfortunately, we've not seen him on a football pitch in a competitive nature since Yeovil, and that was only 20 minutes of that game. So he's a little bit behind in terms of the footballing fitness of it, but then obviously he's trained a lot in the last couple of weeks. So it's a case now of building him back up to his best version and what we saw last season. But great to have him available.
So if you needed 20, 30, whatever the S&C staff say in terms of how many minutes, he's at that sort of level?
Yeah, I think so. And maybe a bit beyond. Chris's game is a certain type of game in terms of how much he moves and where he moves and how quickly he moves. So I think he also can manage his body as well. And he probably knows where he's getting towards a bit of a risk factor. So yeah, we're learning a lot, but we're pleased with where Chris is at.
And as frustrating as the result was, you want issues like that where you're changing players and bringing players into the team at Cardiff to put pressure on you for Saturday's lineup. Are there any of those that did enough to really put them in your thoughts?
I mean, disappointed with the end, but as I said before, during and after the game, that there's so much to like about it, but then the result is everything that counts. That's what matters. We're in the results business, and I just didn't think we forced the issue in attacking sense enough in that game. But we were excellent without the ball for large parts, but we spoke about that's almost irrelevant if you don't then put the ball in the back of the net or put the opposition under pressure when you get the opportunity to do so. So I'm impressed. Like I said after the game, I thought Connor was back to what we see him being. Pleased with Jamie and Jake in terms of their responsibility, but there's so much more to come from them. And then you're looking at the rest of the group who've probably impressed throughout pre-season, let alone just on Tuesday. Our biggest driver at the moment is competition for places. Good we're going into another 3-game week, albeit that game in the middle of it not being a high-profile one, but another game where people get another opportunity.
Yeah. And in terms of last year, the defensive side of things was so not where you want it to be. A lot of work's gone on, recruitment, the work in pre-season. That seems to have massively improved. Is it as simple as sort that out and then the rest of it gets built on top of that?
Yeah, maybe prioritised that aspect in pre-season because we felt that was such a big weakness last season. But also I think last season, consistency and rhythm and selection and available players in that back line. There was no continuity in that back line at any stage last season, and the team suffered as a consequence. We're only a couple of games in, but we just look a little bit more solid as a group. Everyone's defending together, and everyone seems in a good place at the moment, despite the change of shape going into Tuesday. But now we have to put that towards the biggest of tests when we go to Rotherham this weekend and then Stockport and so forth. So it'll continually getting tested, but there's some good signs of a good foundation to build from.
And that sort of ability to play 3 at the back, 4 at the back, different systems, is that something that I get the feeling it's going to happen throughout the season? It's going to be almost game by game.
Yeah, and we're certainly looking at a bit of a home and away split. Certainly sometimes when you play a back 3, it turns too quickly into a back 5 away from home, especially against a certain style of play. So we're looking at ways of getting bodies high up the pitch more often. So it's something we've used in pre-season and we obviously used on Tuesday. Also personnel dependent, who's available, who's in good form. You try and pick your team and select your team to benefit those ones who are in a good place in terms of their game. So it's a great option to have. And the most pleasing aspect, I don't think we look too different in terms of the 2 games, despite the difference in formation. We generally cover the space pretty well.
In terms of your next 2 games in League One, there aren't that many bigger tests. I mean, there are some big teams in this division, but away to Rotherham will give you one kind of test, and Stockport the following Saturdays. Is that something you're really looking forward to finding out where they are?
Yes. the league will tell us the truth. The games will tell us the truth. No bigger tests than this one this weekend, and then obviously the following one. But that's the league this season. There's not many away games where you go in and thinking we can not take our foot off the gas, but be a bit more relaxed going into it, let alone home games. That's just the level of the league this season, which is why we're delighted we're in it, and we're hopefully going to be competitive. And that certainly starts this weekend.
So against the Steve Evans team, you know you're likely to face a big physical challenge. That's something that I'm sure you're preparing the players for.
Yes, but we've got to still look like ourselves, find a way amongst the chaos, amongst a certain style, amongst certain pressures of the game. Can we still look like ourselves, or what we want to look like? That's our biggest challenge. There's a challenge of your character and your will, but also a massive challenge in terms of can you put your skill set out there. So many times we're away from home last season, we looked totally different to what we wanted our best version to look like. So that's a challenge for the group. We won't be perfect this weekend. We'll have to roll our sleeves. But anyway, time you go away from home, there's a certain type of mindset towards the game. But as much as we've got to be strong and resolute without the ball, we've got to find a way to be excellent with the ball.
And I would imagine, as an ex-centre-back yourself, they know exactly what's going to come for them over the 90 minutes up at South Yorkshire. That's a real, it'll be a feather in their cap if they can come through that properly.
It will be, but that's not just the centre halves on the pitch. It's got to be every single position, substitutes bench, myself, my coaching staff, the whole group as a whole. Can we come through this challenge, this test? But instead of it being the challenge which it is, it's a fantastic opportunity. We'll learn a lot more about ourselves and each other, and we'll know a little bit more come 5 o'clock this weekend and then the following weekend. And there's still a little bit of unknown. I said it going in before. Last weekend, a little bit of unknown. They had their debuts, and we've got a lot under the belt in terms of their first moment in a Bristol Rovers shirt in a competitive match. But there's still a little bit of unknown of real pressure, which what is the league will bring, and certainly this weekend.
And for you, it's not that long since you left Rotherham, but I'd imagine that there won't be that many faces. Maybe certainly on the playing side of things, maybe behind the scenes, a few more familiar faces.
Yeah, there's some in the playing capacity. I know full well what a good group of players they are. If you get them in the right place, physically and mentally, the Championship will always show certain deficiencies at a club like Rotherham because it's such a beast of a league. But then in terms of a League One club, there's no one better, and obviously the recruitment they've done has only strengthened them. So yeah, you expect them to be in and around it come the end. They're a new group like ourselves, so it might take a little bit of time to get there. But they've got an experienced manager at the helm who knows how to get through every single division, let alone League One. So yeah, we'll certainly learn a lot. But our focus will be on what our players can do. And I don't just want the headlines post-game to be about our centre-halves and goalkeeper, which they might have to be away from home. Can some of our attacking players start to stand up and be counted?
And just finally, since we last spoke, another addition to the building in Lino coming in from left-back. Talk us a bit about what you see him doing.
Well, competition for places. It's a position we've generally been quite short in pre-season. Great that Bryant's coming in at the start of the season so well, and already seems to be a bit of a fan's favourite, but he's had no Football League experience going into this campaign, so he'll have ups and downs, and there'll be a lack of real consistency and rhythm there, and we need to keep on pushing him, and Lino will certainly do that. He can play left back, left centre half, left wing back, athletic, quite a dynamic player. Had a loan experience last season, albeit without the consistent game time. I think he's striving for that and an opportunity, so he's a very hungry player. I've only seen him today, so we're looking forward to spending more time with him. Hopefully he'll feature pretty quickly.